Good morning, and welcome to the Morning Report. My name is Willie Lawson. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, fightbackmedia.com, and fightbackmediatv.com. We hope that you are great today. And today, it's a big one. It's a big one. Rand Paul, senator from Kentucky, the libertarian lion, as he's called, he is the Senate budget's bulldog, the guy who can filibuster while quoting James Madison and ordering takeout, seems to have blinked. Maybe. That's right. After weeks of pounding the podium against Trump's massive tax and spending package, the one that Trump calls his big, beautiful bill, Paul is signaling that he is not necessarily an absolute no. He just might be a yes. Today, we're going to break it all down. The stakes, the substance, and the strategy behind Rand Paul's drastic shift. Is this a case of principle evolving into pragmatism? Or is it just politics? Kentucky style. Let's get into it. Okay, this big, beautiful bill, that is so Trump, or the triple B, as it's being called, and not by accident, is Trump's opening salvo in his second term agenda. It's a beast. Permanent Trump tax cuts, check. Elimination of federal taxes on tips, income, and overtime pay, check. A huge bump in defense and border spending, oh yeah, but it's not just cuts and boosts. It's also a debt bomb. This bill would hike the debt ceiling by as much as $5 trillion, depending on the final version. And that, my friends, is what got Rand Paul's goat. Paul slammed the bill as a fiscal betrayal. He called the spending cuts wimpy and anemic. Said the debt limit hike was the biggest in history. And for a while there, he looked like he might not be the one to sink Trump's signature legislation. Now, here's where it gets interesting. For weeks, Paul was dug in. No to the debt ceiling increase. No to bloated border budgets. No to bearing Republicans' credibility on spending. But behind the scenes, pressure. Intense pressure. Some of it from Trump himself, from Senate leaders, even from House Speaker Mike Johnson, who went on a PR offensive defending the bill. Paul says he got a call from President Trump personally. And that's the conversation that changed the game. Suddenly, Paul said, I'm not an absolute no. Translation, make me an offer I can live with. What he wants now is a separate vote on the debt ceiling, or at least a smaller, more temporary increase. Something that doesn't feel like handing a drunk the keys to the Treasury for the next 2 years. Look, Rand Paul isn't wrong. The bill will add trillions to the debt, even with the growth baked in. The Congressional Budget Office is already waving red flags. But here's a political calculation. Trump wants a win. Senate Republicans need a win. House Republicans barely passed this thing the first time. And they don't want to vote on it again. So Paul, he's playing the long game. If he can extract some concessions, like a separate debt vote, some deeper cuts, and maybe even a symbolic nod to restraint, He'll have reshaped the bill and saved face. Let's be honest. He'll also have protected his brand because Rand Paul, who is the author of Festivus, every year comes out and talks about some of the ridiculous spending. As a matter of fact, had it not been for Festivus, Doge would have had a much more difficult start because Rand Paul doesn't want to be the guy who tanked Trump's tax cuts. He doesn't. He wants to be the guy who made them smarter. Now, the reactions have been loud all over the map. Trump, first he bashed Paul, then he called him. Now he's probably watching Fox News to see if it worked. Speaker Johnson, he's out there calling Elon Musk terribly wrong for trashing the bill, which, for the record, Musk did what this did all of the all excuse me Musk did with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer. Fiscal conservatives, they are rallying behind Paul. Others are quietly folding. And the Democrats, they're just sitting back, watching Republicans cannibalize themselves. Chucky Schumer's having a grand old time. Now, this is what happens whenever there is some internal squabbling. Funny. I saw a graphic about the number of ideas and ideals that are contained in the Democrat side and the Republican side. The Republican side has a much larger spectrum, like that larger spectrum of thoughts and ideas than the Democrats do. The Democrats are fairly, which is why they're able to just band together without any problem. They're able just to band together without problem. And whenever you see someone like a Fetterman is an outlier for sure. All Democrats are here and Fetterman's out here. You can easily see it. Where Republicans have this sort of morphing ball of ideas where factions like the Liberty Caucus will break off, and then you have, of course, the establishment Republicans. I hate that term, establishment. So you have all these things trying to work together, and some of the factions exist because one faction or another didn't seem to be doing the job. So the Liberty Caucus exists because the establishment Republicans weren't doing the job. So they were elected for a very specific purpose, and they have a very specific mindset. You see how this is very, very difficult to balance somehow. It's very, very hard. If you have, let me give you a sports example because that's what we do around here. Let me get you a sports example. Let's say you've got a quarterback who can throw for 5,000 yards. 5,000 yards. So you know what? He and his wide receivers want to throw the ball on every play because they really believe that that's the way to go. And then you get in an offensive line, and the offensive lines would much rather run the ball. Let's say you've got a great offensive line, a center, 2 guards, and 2 tackles that are amazing, but they think it's better to run the ball. You've got a kick butt running back and a fullback. Wow, a fullback, and they want to run the ball. And now you've got a head coach and an offensive coordinator. One's a run the ball guy, one's a throw the ball guy. And what you have is enough weapons to win, but you have to be able to marshal them all together in a way. You have to be able to marshal them all together in a way so you can win. And unfortunately, sometimes they're going to squabble. They're going to squabble. And that's what we're seeing now. Now, you can sit on the sideline or across from the sideline and have a grand old time laughing at it. But Chuck Schumer knows that if they ever get it together, it's going to be an oncoming train and it's going to run his ass slap over. So where does all this land? Rand Paul is doing what smart legislators do when the spotlight's hot. and the stakes are high. He's negotiating. He's making his point. He's making sure he doesn't get left, but he's making sure he doesn't get left out of the parade. But the big picture here is this. The big, beautiful bill is on track. Rand Paul may not love it, but he doesn't want to be the villain. And if he plays his cards right, he won't be. He'll be the guy who helped trim the fat without killing the cow. That's it for Morning Report for this morning. Remember, tax cuts matter, but so does fiscal sanity. And somewhere in between, the art of the possible. Again, my name is Willie Lawson. Please make sure you subscribe here on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe on Rumble and fightbackmedia.com. Till we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody. And for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.